Alright, so here we have an iPad 5 and we're going to be replacing the glass. Got it on my heat pad and we're going to start with prying up at this glass. Get me a little cloth here. We're going to need tweezers. We're going to need a screwdriver. You don't have to have an electric screwdriver. A spudger. A smaller plastic spudger. And a triangle spudger pick. Whatever that's called. And then we're going to need the part and also some B7000 glue to help secure it back down once we replace that screen. Alright, so let's get started. Like I said, it's already on the heat. We're just going to start up here and insert our spudger underneath that glass. Hopefully this goes pretty smooth. And you know what? I'm forgetting gloves. Should always be using protection. Get my gloves on. Alright, gloves on. Just going to run this down underneath the glass. Doesn't look like it's coming up very well. Let's try heating it up a little more. Try to get it to about 190. You don't want to insert your pick very far, just enough to get up under the edge of that glass, because we're going to have the cables down here on this side. That's where the cables are going to be. Plus, you have your fingerprint scanner and your button, home button. Those cables also run over to meet up with the motherboard. So we don't want to insert very far. Up top, it's not so bad. You can put it in a little bit further. Kind of cut through that glue. Let's see if we can't twist it. Looks like we're also going to need some picks. So we just insert these picks underneath like that to help keep it up, and we can push down on them to give it a little leverage. And you're going to need a garbage can. Alright. All these shards of glass pulled up around this edge, just like that. Oh yeah, pulls that adhesive right out. That's not normal. That doesn't happen very often. So this side should pretty much just be ready to come right up. Yeah, just like that. Well, that was easy. Don't think it's going to be that easy every time, because it is not. So we're just going to stick a pick under this side. Don't want to put it in too far. Damage that LCD, because we're not replacing the LCD, we're just replacing the top layer of glass, your digitizer. Slide another pick in right there. Wiggle it in. These are a little flimsier, but it does what we need it to do. We'll get this closer to the piece of glass if we can't lift up just enough to get that in. That's all we really need. Keep sliding that down. Remember, we got the cables. It should be right about here somewhere, so just be careful. I mean, it's not going to matter if you cut them, but we have not disconnected the battery, so it could cause damage internally. So we want to avoid damaging any cables while that battery is still connected. Pull off little chunks. Let's turn this around so we can work at the bottom. Go ahead and that glass just comes right out. I don't want you to think that they're all this easy, because they're not. A lot of the times, if it's shattered really bad, you will be picking away at it for quite some time. It'll be just like these little pieces. You'll go to pull, a little piece will come out. The more shattered the iPad screen is, the more difficult time you're going to have. But if you like repairing things like I do, you'll just take your time. Remember, we got this cable under here. Gotta be careful how I'm going at this. So I'm just going to try to lift up with it. Lift up instead of trying to cut through it. Now over here, we can just go on and cut through that adhesive. Continue this down. Some iPads, they have antennas at the top or the bottom, so you gotta be really careful. This one does not have that sticking to the glass. It does have the antennas. You can see one of them right here. But you should not get underneath of that. I've never accidentally gotten up underneath of one of those. So you should be in the clear for the most part. And as always, follow these steps and directions at your own risk, because there's always a risk involved in taking something apart. Let's get these. Whoops, I bumped my camera. Get these out of here. Alright, so now we're just going to lift that glass up. Just wipe this glass and dust away. Try not to touch the LCD. So, now that we got this far, I'm going to turn the heat off. We have 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, and under this little corner piece is number 4. Right there. Oh no. Sorry about that. Under this corner piece, 2, 3, 4. So we're just going to remove these. My apologies for that out of focus. I don't know how long it's been like that. Hopefully. Oh no. Okay. So I believe it's trying to focus on this piece of glass here. Yeah. So when I lift this glass up, it's trying to focus. So we're just gonna see if we can't lock this focus for a minute. Alright, so focus lock. Alright, so we got these 2 screws out. There's number 3. And right up under that little piece of tape is number 4. Now I turned my heat off already. It should be hot enough to do what we need to do. Now there is some sticky tack adhesive stuff underneath these corners, or not. Okay, so this model does not have that. Some iPads have little pieces of sticky adhesive under these corners, and even some down at the bottom, so you got to be careful when you try to pull up on the screen. It may not pull up and you may end up damaging something, so be very careful when you're lifting up at the top. You know, pull slowly. You want to have heat. Alright. And first things first, we're going to disconnect this battery. Going to remove that one Phillips screw. And then I have, that I didn't tell you needed, my apologies, is these little plastic cards. Sometimes they come with screens. So I just lift up on the board gently, as always, and just slide this in between the battery and the motherboard. So now there's no connection whatsoever. And we're just gonna remove the remaining 3 screws. 1, 2, and 3. You want to keep track of where these belong. Alright, so that came up with the cable. It's not a problem. I'll just set this LCD off to the side. And we're going to disconnect the home button. It's under this little piece of tape. Just remove this little piece of tape. Set that to the side. And you're going to flip open. See if we can't zoom it in here. You're going to flip open this little latch. Just like that. And you're going to pull the cable out. And your cable is disconnected, just like so. Now, it looks like one of them's already disconnected from the screen. You're going to pop that one loose, and you're going to pop that one loose. And that is going to release your digitizer glass. So now we're just going to set this to the side as well. And we're going to focus on getting this home button off. Because this has the Touch ID. Turn this heat back on. And most of the time you can just pull gently until you get to about right there. It's connected. And this is where this little triangle tool is going to come in handy. We're going to zoom right in here to it. And we're just going to get right up under the edge. And kind of work it around it. We're going to get up under that. Remember, don't put too much force. Get up under that little piece. And now we're going to disconnect. Oop. Sticking to me. We're going to disconnect it from the... unstick it, I guess. Not disconnect it. So now that it's completely loose, we're just going to lift it up and push it from the front or from the bottom. And there we have our button. So now that I'm done dealing with this glass, I'm going to remove these gloves. I don't much care for gloves. I'll wear them if I need to. But right now, I doesn't have to. We're going to pull this new glass over here. And it has a film on the back that you peel off. So you don't have to worry about touching it, putting fingerprints on it. It's going to be alright. But what we do need to do is fold over this little piece. This is going to fold over. just like that. This piece is going to go down between the frame and the LCD, so that needs to be kind of sticking out. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use this to get up under the edge of that little plastic and just peel it away. Now you don't want to get it on that foam, so you're just going to want to fold it over just as close as possible to the foam, and then lay it down. Run your fingers along it, not too hard, but enough to where it's not going to come loose. Just like that. These will need to be sticking out. That will go down, like I said, between it. If you don't get that between there, when you put it back together, you're going to have a gap between your frame and your glass, and that's going to be hard to deal with. You can glue it down, you're going to have to hold it in place, you're going to have to leave it there for quite some time. It is doable, but it's so much easier if you just get it right. Alright, so now we're going to focus on putting the home button back where it belongs. Sometimes this little gasket or sticker, tape, rubber gasket, I think it is, we're going to have to fix it. So we're going to pull it back around the back of that best we can, just like that. Alright, now we're going to put it back in there. For now, that's going to be fine. We just need to test it. So I'm going to pick at it a little bit, get it fixed, get it straightened. I'll get that out of the way here for a second. Looks like it's folded over onto itself. If you don't want to watch me do this, you can fast forward a little bit. I'll understand. There. Now, well, you got that gasket back the way it needs to be. We're just going to run this along the side, just like so. We're going to lift up on this piece of adhesive here, so we can stick that down. Alright, we're going to adjust this to make sure it fits. We're going to see if we can hear it click. Hear that? So that's where we need it to be. It's the right spot. Let's make sure. Alright. So before we put adhesive around it, because I am going to put adhesive around these two, a lot of times it does not like to stay down, and then when you return it back to the customer, they'll press on it a handful of times and it will just completely come loose. So what we're going to do so I'm going to lock that focus so it doesn't focus on this glass. I'm going to click that into place. I'm going to click this one into place. It's only temporary, so we can see if it's going to work or not. That's clicked into place. I'm going to slide this in. I'm going to be kind of gentle with that. Take your tweezers and just kind of wiggle it into place. I'll bring back the LCD. And since this is still attached to it, we have a really good reference point to where it needs to go down. and it's clicked into place. We're going to remove this. Alright. I'm going to put the screw back in for the battery. The only thing we need right now is the battery connected. I'll lay this down. We're going to turn it on. There's your Apple logo. Just going to lay this down here, and we're going to check to see if it works. If it does, excellent. If not, we may have to disconnect the cables and reconnect them. Sometimes it's just necessary to do. While we're waiting on that, I appreciate you watching. Give me a like and a subscribe. That'd be awesome. I know the video is kind of a longer format. We're at 21 minutes right now. I'm going to blur that out. So we're going to test it the best that we can. So this is a way that I like to test. You don't need to be intrusive. You don't need to go into anybody's phone or tablet. If it happens to come to a dead spot, that will return. It will always come right back. So you can just test it. Move your fingers around. As long as it's wiggling and doesn't immediately return, you know that there's not a problem. So now that we know that there's not a problem with the screen, we're going to flip this back up. We're going to take this LCD back off. Alright, so now that it works, we're going to remove this screw again. Just like that. Lift up gently on the motherboard. I know you're probably thinking, why am I taking this completely apart again? Well, because that was just to test to see if it was going to work. I don't want to do all this work for no reason. Because it's too easy to put this thing back together and it not work. So I always test first. Putting this thing completely back together and it not work is a tremendous waste of time. Especially if you go ahead and just glue that screen down or take these adhesive strips off. A lot of the times when you purchase these replacements, they will tell you to pre-install and test. Oops. And it's still clicking. You can also look down in there. Let me get rid of that focus lock. You can see right between the home button and that back plate. You can kind of line them up through there, and then you just need to push on it and listen for that click. Don't know if you can hear that or not. Anyways, we're going to put some adhesive on this. We're going to go ahead and remove this because this looks like it might be just in the way. I'm going to get it right between that strip and the adhesive. And there's already adhesive there. So what we're going to do is just put it around this little plate, around the little feet of that plate, because I don't want it to move or come out of place. I know it has pads on the back right here that's supposed to prevent it from pushing in, but I promise you, if you don't secure it down, those pads will not prevent it from getting pushed down. Put a little dab up here. Be very careful not to actually get it on the button. You get that on the button stops working, and you're not going to have a happy customer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a little clamp. Clamp it down on it. Not super tight, just enough to hold it in place. While that adhesive dries. It's not super tight. Then I'm going to add some heat to it. We're going to do about 160. And I'm going to leave that there for a little bit. And I will come back to it. So, I don't like editing my videos, but I'm going to have to end this right here and clip these together. Alright. So, now that we've let this sit for a while, we're going to take that off. Make sure we can still hear this click. Perfect. Make sure that's down. Now we're going to start taking these adhesives off. Or the strips, the little pieces over top of them. Get those off. Just get underneath of it. Peel that off. And peel that off. Perfect, perfect. Now, I might need another tube of adhesive, just in case. I have it ready. We're going to put this back together. Let's bring this back over. I'll lock this focus. And we're going to get everything situated. We're going to wait and take this peel off of the back last. And before we put any adhesive around the screen, we're going to turn it back on to make sure that it works. Make sure you get those clicked in place. Put that in there. Use your tweezers. Hold it in place. Perfect. Now we're going to bring the LCD back. Be careful not to touch it. I think I may have. I'm just going to... Yeah, there's one fingerprint on it right there at the bottom. So I'm going to wipe that off. And not touch it again. I know, that goes with the part of me should be wearing gloves. I just don't like gloves. I wear them. So hopefully I don't get cut by the glass. Now, I'm not using anything to wipe this screen off. Just these little cloths. In an extreme last case, you can put alcohol on it, but be careful, because if it bleeds down into the LCD, It can cause problems. Blow off any dust. And we're going to get this set back up. Just like that. And we'll get this clicked into place. Perfect. I'll lay that over. I'll put these screws in. And we're still... Oh, I just lost my light. I think my battery just went kaput. Get these screws in. And then we'll plug up that battery and we'll lay this down and we'll test it again. Pull that out, be gentle pulling that out. I don't want those prongs to get messed up. There are little prongs under it, but as long as you're gentle, shouldn't cause any damage to them. Again, this is do at your own risk. So we're going to lay this down. Just like that. We're going to see about getting this light connected back up. Just going to quick connect it to my phone to give it some juice. And ta-da, back in business. Okay. So we're going to power this on. And I see a little piece of glass right there. So you want to look around the frame. Right there, there's another piece of glass. Make sure you get all these pieces of glass. If you leave any of these glass pieces, your new digitizer, front glass, whatever you want to call it, will not sit flush, and then you will have a problem. Another little piece of glass. Everything looks good. No other pieces. I think that's just a piece of fuzz. Alright. In an ideal world, I would be working in a clean lab. That home button works. Do it again. Alright, let's get that. Everything's working just fine. So, we're going to put the adhesive around it. Oh, after we put the screws in. Sorry about that. Got ahead of myself. Now we're going to lift this up, put that screw in. Doesn't matter which order you put them in. You just don't want to put them super tight, but you do want them in because these little parts around the edge of the screen are only plastic. And if you screw it in too tight, you'll strip the screw. Can't even talk right now. Strip the screw, or you'll break the little plastic bracket. Again, we'll go over it and make sure we get dust out of it, any markings off of it. You want to be really careful when you put this glue on. You don't want to get it on the screen. Get it between the screen and the digitizer, and it's going to cause issues. I'm just lightly dragging this over the screen. I'll blow it off. Now we're going to start adding the glue. And get that glue on it. I'll run my finger around it like that, just to kind of cut off any of those little strings that'll be hanging off, so I don't get it on the screen. Run along the edge, and we're starting to run out. I think this may finish it. We'll see. Now in the places where you have the cables, still need to get glue behind it. So I'm going to pull this screen towards me a little bit. Looks like that is already got stuck to the side. I'm going to pull this towards me a little bit and just get a little bit of glue behind those cables. Now I'm going to pull this back piece off just like this. Alright, well my video cut off and I didn't know it. So what we did is we got the glass on, we put the glue around the screen, made sure we got it behind this cable over here and your home button cable, and then we made sure to fit that little piece of cable in between the frame, and then we started putting the clamps on after we put the screen back down. And you just want to tighten them in the same kind of pattern you would with lug nuts on a vehicle. Clamp one over here, and one here, one here, one here. You don't want to apply pressure to one side. You don't want to do these and then these, because then you're going to have all the pressure here, and it may be sticking up on this side, and that could cause it to crack, or it could just be popped out of the frame. But that'll do it for this video. I appreciate you. Give me a like, thumbs up or thumbs down.